Wonderful Monday. Thank you for joining us on a different day this month. We were going some housekeeping stuff first before we introduce everybody. This Zoom call is set up as a Zoom meeting. So if you're not automatically muted when you log on, please do so that we can hear the speakers clearly. And then at the end, when we take questions, feel free to unmute. And also feel free to network and chat in the chat box. We can't be in person, but we can still all be interacting with each other and chatting. Let's see, what else does Josh have on his notes? Oh, the replay will be available on our YouTube channel, probably today or tomorrow. So if you missed part of it, no big deal. Let's see here. I think we have almost everyone admitted right now. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce this month's sponsor. He is the CEO of Brc Metal Systems. I cannot talk today. I had a COVID test before this, so all out of sorts. I would like to introduce the CEO of Brc Metal Systems, Rob Robbie. Rob, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, hi, welcome everybody. Brc Metal Systems, I've got a few slides I can show you that just describe Brc. We've been in business since 2013 in Rapid City. We primarily are in the business of cold spray technology, which is a metalworking technology that uses metal powder to basically cold weld materials together, and that's good for repair of a lot of aerospace and defense applications. We have several subsidiaries that we've developed: Heartland Repair and Coatings, which is field services; HF Webster Engineering Services; Novum Nano, which is a new company that does nanomaterials. Then we recently acquired an FAA repair station in Fargo, North Dakota. Novum Nano has so we've got a granddaughter, Novum Oil, which produces an oil additive that improves gas mileage and reduces engine friction. And then Stockton Propeller, which is a propeller company that's based in Stockton, California. We at Brc are primarily aerospace and defense, but we're moving into commercial industry. The facility is out by Ellsworth Air Force Base. It's the old Vandenberg School. We modified it a couple of years ago. We have facilities in Webster, Massachusetts, and Burlington, Massachusetts as well. And then, as I mentioned, the FAA repair station in Fargo that we recently acquired, and they have cold spray capability as well. Wanted to mention this is our facility, and as it currently stands, we have a new facility, 15,000 square feet, going up this summer out by Ellsworth. That's going to house Heartland Coatings and Repair. And then 2022, we're building another 41,000 square feet on what's now the football field right there. And then in 2024, another 41,000 square feet. So we're planning on expanding over the next several years. These are just a map across the United States of where all of our cold spray systems are going. We're setting up regional repair facilities around these facilities across the U.S. and internationally, with reach back to South Dakota for engineering and technical support. We have a trailer mounted system that'll be able to do field services. We're involved in a lot of different industries. But the ones in green we're well established in. The ones in orange are ones we're establishing now, and the other ones are a little farther out. Work with a ton of universities, do a lot of R&D work. Probably, you know, at least a third of our work right now is R&D. And I wanted to mention a couple of the DoD we're well established in, but we're doing a lot with the nuclear power industry because the repair costs are so high. We've got a new repair on nuclear waste canisters that's pretty exciting, working with Southern California Edison and Westinghouse. So that's an overview of VRC. Any questions? Guess not.
Rob, this is Stacy Miller. How many employees do you have here at the Ellsworth facility?
Ellsworth, we've got roughly 65. Well, actually, no. So more like 55 here at Ellsworth, and then another 10 that are out in Massachusetts and elsewhere. We got a total of probably almost not quite 100 total if you count the Fargo facility in Stockton. I think somebody's on. I think Sandy might be talking. She's on mute.
Shannon, are we good to move forward?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. We'll include your contact information and the link for your website and all of that good stuff in our follow-up email with the replay of today's meeting. Now I would like to introduce Chief Master Sergeant Rochelle Hemingway. She has been gracious enough to take the time to speak with our group today. She is the commander. She is Command Chief of the 28th Bomb Wing at Ellsworth Air Force Base, right here in Rapid City. She leads the wing's enlisted force and serves as primary advisor to the commander on all matters concerning the morale, welfare, warfighting effectiveness, operational utilization, and professional development of nearly 3,200 enlisted airmen who support the largest B-1 combat wing in the U.S. Air Force. Born at RAF Lakenheath, England, and raised in Kokomo, Indiana, Chief Hemingway entered the Air Force in August of 1991. After completing basic training, she began her career as a medical service technician. In 1999, she graduated from the Independent Duty Medical Technician program and deployed in support of various humanitarian missions in Jamaica, Curacao, Vietnam, Africa, and Southwest Asia. Prior to assuming her current position, Chief Hemingway served as the Superintendent, 56th Medical Group at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. Welcome, Rochelle. We're so excited to listen to you speak today.
Thank you so much. This is absolute an honor. And when I got that invitation from Josh, I was so happy and excited. I've been waiting for this day. So thank you so much for that introduction and the invite. So I'm not sure where we're going to begin with this, but I do have an outline. I'm going to walk through the outline a little bit on some of the things that were already said in the introduction, and then talk a little bit about some of the leadership philosophies that I've adopted over my time in the Air Force, and as well as explain the hashtag SLAY. I know everybody's excited to hear about it. I get excited just saying the word, but so first let me just start off with who I am and some of the things that I do here at Ellsworth Air Force Base. So first, yes, I was born in Lakenheath Air Force Base in England. My dad served in the military, the Air Force, for 23 years, and he was stationed there. I was born there, and I went to so many bases. I can't even name count of how many bases that we PCS, which is a terminology that we use when we go from one base to the next. My dad, he retired at a Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana. So my mom is from Garrett, Garrett, Indiana. It's a very small town. And she wanted to stay in the state of Indiana after my dad retired, so they decided to stay in Kokomo, Indiana. I went to school there from the years of 8th to 12th grade, so only for a short period of time. And then I went to college at Indiana University in Kokomo for about a year, and I wasn't making the grades that I was anticipating on making. And the only option that I knew is the Air Force. So I signed papers, came home, told my mom and dad that I had just enlisted into the Air Force. Everybody's jaw dropped at that point, because they didn't realize that I would even consider making in the Air Force a career. And I left in August of 1991. So if you're doing the math, yes, almost 30 years of service, and I will be officially retiring 1 September 2021 after 30 years of service. My husband has also done his 30 years of service. He recently retired in January of 2021, or excuse me, January 2020, as the maintenance group superintendent out of Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. I came here to Ellsworth Air Force Base by myself. I was selected as the command chief as my husband was transitioning from active duty to retirement. And we have a 10-year-old son named Andrew. So a lot of moving parts in the Air Force, of course. If you have ever been in the military or you have family members in the military, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. And so we were willing to do that so that way I can continue to serve and lead airmen here at Ellsworth Air Force Base. So in my free time, I'm a fitness enthusiast. I work out quite often. I have my own gym in my house. And we have a gym on base, of course, but it's more convenient for me to get up at 4:30 every morning and work out before I come into work. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot of books on leadership and self-development. I watch Judge Judy, so I don't know if there's any Judge Judy fans out there, but for whatever reason, she resonates with me. And so I record every episode and I watch her. I also watch a lot of 48 Hours. I like the fact that, someone, was either, killed or they're potentially may have been kidnapped or whatnot. Call me strange and kind of quirky a little bit. But I like the fact that they're the investigating part, and when they find out the what, whens, whys, and hows, that all evolved. I go to bed early. I usually go to bed about 2100, which is 9 p.m. And I sing on the praise and worship team here at Ellsworth Air Force Base. So I do spend some time besides serving in the military aspect of doing other things that I enjoy that help me decompress from this very stressful and somewhat uncertain position that I'm in. So to give you some context on leadership, I know that was one of the topics that we were going to be focusing on today. I want to tell you about my leadership journey. This doesn't happen overnight, as most of you know, that are leading teams or leading companies or businesses. It takes time to grow and mature into these leadership positions. And I started seeing how I could lead from very early on. So when I was in high school, I was selected as a drum major. So I played 5 different instruments when I was in high school. I was selected my senior year to be the drum major, one of 2 drum majors, and we went to state competition that year. And I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, which is there's probably right now about 60,000 people that live there. And to go to the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis was a big deal. And so I saw that I was able to lead the team to the state competition, and I kind of stepped into those roles. I had been a Girl Scout. I was in junior achievement clubs. I was in track and field, but that particular position or that particular opportunity worked well for me, and I kind of built off from there. In basic training, when I got to basic training, they select people to be the leader of the quad. There was 4 leaders of the quad, and of course, you've got the main person that's responsible for the entire flight. And I was selected as one of the element leaders. And that again is where you're responsible for the behaviors and the actions of those that are on your team. And so I used to get in trouble, not me in trouble, but I'm just saying our team would find ourselves having to answer, and I would be the one that would have to provide the answers. And so I learned to work in sort of those uncomfortable spaces. And I found that I was doing exceptionally well in that environment. And so I continued on. So again, I was an independent duty medical technician for 10 years. And in that role, I was a field medic where I was trained. I went to school for 3 months, and any place that they didn't want to send a doctor or a nurse or, you know, another and a provider, they would send people like me out there. And I was responsible for the medical care for either team members or people they assigned to the team. And one of the deployments that I went on was very enlightening. And again, I carry it to this day. I was deployed to Vietnam for 3 months. It was the mission where we go out and we are looking for the remains of those that we've lost from the Vietnamese War. I was placed out in the field environment with no running water, no electricity, all the comforts of your daily living. I was out in the jungle with nothing but, 12 other team members with me in my medical bag. Not only was I responsible for those 12 members, but I ended up being responsible for the 90 other Vietnamese workers that they had hired to help us to dig. And when we say dig, I mean, we were digging dirt, looking for any artifacts that were associated with the member that we were looking for. And in that moment, in those 3 months, they were most defining to me, because you don't realize what you can potentially do when you're put out in certain environments. And I came home. I came home in one piece. My dad was in Vietnam. He served in the Vietnamese War, and so he was very scared and anxious about me going out there because he didn't know what I would be facing. But needless to say, that was such a remarkable assignment to be on. And I cherish the moments that I was selected to go out there and find someone that we've been missing for quite some time from the Vietnamese War. Later on, after serving as an IDMT, I served as a first sergeant for 4 years. And if anyone is in a human resource management position, just think of being a first sergeant in the military on steroids. Okay, so every issue, concern that a person has, either professional or personal, you're involved with. And that was my sole bane of existence as a first sergeant, was taking care of people in that element. I worked with the commander and the chief master sergeant that was assigned to the unit. And we were a team to make sure that we were able to meet mission. But we had to make sure that, the people that come to work and how they are cared for, that we were meeting their needs. As we moved on, again, my journey continued on as a self-assessment program manager on the inspections general team, where I went out and made sure that people were in compliance with the Air Force instructions and policies and guidance. I did not only that for the Air Force side, but I also did for the Army side, which is completely two different languages when you're talking Air Force and Army. But I learned a lot in that position. And I learned that, not everyone does the same, but we have the goal to achieve compliance with our programs and our processes, and we all want to do better. And so lots to learn in that aspect. Didn't necessarily have to lead anybody but myself, but I was leading in a different capacity in that role. Moving on, when I made chief, which is the highest enlisted rank in the Air Force, I was serving as the medical group superintendent at Luke Air Force Base. So as you can imagine, I said my husband was stationed there too. We were both functioning together as chiefs, and he was on the maintenance side and I was on the medical side. That was definitely interesting because we had two different viewpoints. My journey in the Air Force is much different than my husband's journey in the Air Force. And so we had different perspectives and opinions when we came to the table and we had to make decisions for the entire team. But I think it served us very well. When I was in that role as a medical group superintendent, I was selected to deploy to Jordan and Syria. So Jordan, Syria, Kuwait, I kind of bounced between those different areas, traveling a lot, either by land or plane. Very, very nervous, nerve-wracking because of the conditions, a lot of fear, and a lot of unknown. I was assigned to lead two clinics, one in Kuwait and one in Jordan. So I would have to fly in between both of those clinics to make sure that the personnel that were assigned there had with the resources that they need to treat all of our military members that were deployed there at that time. And then coming into this position as the command chief, yes, I'm responsible for the professional development, health and welfare, 3,200 personnel here on base. But I work with the commander and the vice commander to ensure 8,200 people here that serve on our base are taken care of as well. So this has been a most defining moment because no one gives you a playbook on how to lead during a pandemic. And we've had to pivot a lot. I know that, we haven't been the most popular people here on base, but when you're in a leadership role, it's not a popularity contest. And so we've been able to manage as best as we possibly can. Yes, we did make, some mistakes, and we're still going to make some mistakes because it's different, but we are definitely up for the challenge and still here. So when I talk to my members here on base about leadership, I always talk to them about how everything rises and falls in leadership. And the way that you go about leading really defines the person that you are. And I talk a lot about character, and because it's easy to go out and tell people to do certain things, right? But are your actions and your intentions lining up? Are you the same person when you're at work, when you're at home? And what I mean by that is what types of behaviors are you exhibiting in both of those elements? Understanding leadership and actually executing leadership is two different things. So I'm constantly going back and forth, using all the tools and the resources that I have acquired over my past 30 years on navigating through different leadership challenges. But the one thing that I know is I want my character to speak for itself. And so when I want people to follow me, I want to ensure that if the balloon pops up out here or while I'm still serving, that I have members that will fall in line and we can get after taking care of the mission and protecting our security of our nation. There's also an element of representing my family name. So you see on my uniform and in most Air Force or military institutions, we carry our name on our uniform, and I represent my family name. So my dad again served 23 years in the Air Force, and I don't want to do anything to tarnish our name. And so I work very hard at protecting that for our family. So there are certain things that I have done over my career that I packed up into the hashtag slay. So this is where I think a lot of times people start connecting to who I am with this word. A few years back, I will say probably about 8 years ago, I heard this word in a song by Beyonce. If anybody's a Beyonce fan, there's a song called Formation Song. When they talk about I slay, we slay, you know, and I didn't know what the word slay is. I'm almost 50 years old, okay? So most of the airmen that I have to talk to are 19 and 20-year-olds. This word bridges the gap, all right? So because they know what the word is, I understand it for what it to mean. And it's a short, powerful word that I know a lot of CrossFitters use. I know a lot of fitness enthusiasts use as well. I know that it's a word that's used in modeling and fashion shows and all the sorts. But when you look it up in the Urban Dictionary, because that's where I had to find the word, it's not in the regular dictionary. It means to kill it, to dominate it, to nail it. And so when I look over my career, that's exactly what I was doing every time I was given a new position. I was really working hard to achieve success. I wanted to be the one that people were considering for the next, whatever that would be. And so I took this word and I use it as my mantra. It's my own personal mantra that I have, but I share it with others so maybe they can find themselves leading in these capacities. But each letter stands for some principles. So the S stands for stay ready to be ready. So with this position, I have no idea what I'm going to face. My door is closed right now. If I open this door, something could potentially be, of serious nature, and I'll have to go and, have discussions. But how do I show up, and what do I do when I'm having to present with these certain uncertainties? So what I found the best thing that I start from is stick to the basics. I stick to what I was taught when I was in basic training. So professionalism, proper customs and courtesies, dress and appearance. I exercise daily because it's a condition of my employment. I'm a constant learner, and I uphold the core values of integrity first, excellence in all you do, and service before self. I start from there. Every company, every business, every team has a mission and vision plan. I always, try to point people back to the foundational principles. In fact, I have this little blue book that I constantly refer to. It's our Air Force cultures and Air Force standards to make sure that I'm in line with this and doing all that I can for mission success. The L stands for lead out loud. So I just talked to you a little bit about character. And that's one element to my lead out loud, but it's also about stepping up and taking charge. When you are assigned as a leader, you need to be able to, people should know who you are, right? If you're the leader, you don't necessarily have to broadcast that. You don't have to have a position or a title. People already know. I mean, I could take my top off right now and just go walking around with my t-shirt on, and they'll be like, there goes the chief. Because I have done a lot of hard work to make sure that people understood that I was in the position of leadership and I was advocating for them and their best interests. It's an active sport. So I play in the leadership realm all day long. And I think that's important for all leaders to know. I attend courses, I read books, I listen to podcasts, I've joined clubs, I'm involved in the community, and these are all to enhance my leadership development. So the 3 E's that I go by when I talk about leading out loud is I engage, I execute, and then I evaluate. And I have to readjust based on the outcome of what I receive. Either if it's favorable, then I'm like, okay, I'm sticking with that. If it's unfavorable outcome, then I have to adjust. So I encourage people to lead out loud if they are given the opportunity to lead people or to lead teams. The A stands for a sense of family, a sense of community. So I've spent a lot of years building a tribe. The tribe of people that are around me are like-minded people who want to be better or present with or continue to show the best version of themselves. I had to dwindle out some people. Not everybody's for you. Not everybody's going to give you good advice. They maybe feel like you're somewhat of a competition. And so you've got to kind of have some discernment and read people that are around you. But I built a tribe of people everywhere I go, so I can look to them for advice and for counsel, venting, because sometimes I may not have a good day and I need some folks to go back to. You don't want to be the only one in your on your team. That lonely feeling that you have when you're in a leadership position sometimes occurs. But I make sure that that doesn't happen for me. I treat everyone with dignity, respect from the gate. Anytime that I'm addressing someone and it's in a negative situation, I address the behavior and not the person, because we're all human beings and we all have feelings and we all have, we all want to have that sense of belonging, regardless of what they did. And so I constantly go back to that. And I don't offend to defend. I know that sometimes people put up a justification. Well, that doesn't happen that way, or they dismiss somebody. But that's not what a family member does. A family member listens, they're supportive, they love, they care, they build trust with the family members that they have. And so that's what I do, especially with members that I closely work for. But certainly all airmen know, if they got a problem, call Chief Hemingway, because they're constantly coming in here. But that's my job, and that's what I love to do. And lastly, the why is you are built to last. There would be I had no idea I was going to be in the military for 30 years. Absolutely not. My dad even told me he'd see me in a couple of years. He did not think that I was going to last. He did not have faith and confidence that I was going to stick it out. But there were certain things that I really focused my attentions to. I have a positive purpose. I know why I'm here and I know why I exist. And I continue to look back in my arsenal of whys. What are my whys? All right. I have a list about 10 whys of why I'm still serving today. And I have to look back and refer to it on those darkest days when I think I could have been gone a couple of years ago. Why am I still serving? Right. So hard times come to everybody. And it's how you respond to those situations and how do you look at those lessons, because they are all lessons to me. Also, when you're built to last, you have to face fear. So I have been in some very scary situations over my career. And as a leader, I learned that my job is to starve fear, and I need to feed my people hope and show them a better picture. So even in this pandemic, with a lot of things that are happening to family, friends, coworkers, loved ones, I still have to be the pinnacle of hope, because people lose why they're here if you don't stand and tell them, hey, it's okay, we're going to make it through it together. I kept my eye on the prize. I knew after about serving 20 years that I wanted to stay in for the long haul. It's a long game. And so I've kept my eye on this for some time, and now I'm here. And the last thing, when I talk about you're built to last, is that I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy for others to look up to. The likelihood of a woman serving and a minority woman serving in these capacities is very small and very limited. I want to make sure that I am creating a path for others. But I have to stick to what I have learned and what I know and grow. And so I want my legacy to speak for itself, and that'll be a #Slay. This is not a resume builder for me. All right. I think I've built enough of my resume context over the years. And so I'm leaving my name out here and creating a footprint for others to follow and fall into. So today I just covered a little bit about who I was, my leadership journey, and of course the #Slay. I'm more than open to questions. I'm an open book, y'all. So any question out there that you have, please ask.
Rochelle, that was amazing. Thank you. We do have one in the chat. That is, what advice do you have for someone who feels like they have handled a situation badly? How do you recover?
Oh, wow. I've done that a lot of times. All right. So I think the first thing that you have to acknowledge is that you're going to fail. All right. We are all culpable of not presenting our best, you know. So if you have failed at that, then you need to pick yourself back up and you need to try and try again. Um, People will look to you when they see that at least you're trying to recover from a situation as opposed to you giving up. Even if it doesn't look all the way right for you at the end of it, at least you can say that I gave it my all and did my best. I would say just create an action plan to recover, and hopefully you'll get the results that you're looking for.
And we have, how do you build yourself up when you start to doubt yourself or when others tell you that you can't do it?
Oh, I love this question. So whoever asked it, good on you. I love it. So my advice to that is to find something that is going to build you up. For me, what helps me is 0430 time. Everything that I do in my gym, or if I go to the base gym, everything I do starts from there, and it transcends from either the treadmill or the spin bike to what I present to people throughout the day. I have more confidence when I know that I feel good, that I'm in a good headspace, that, you know, people are rooting for me. People are rooting for you even when you don't know it. When you think that, you know, people are talking about you or they're doubting what you're bringing to the table. And I know that it's hard to say, but I really, after so many years, I don't let that affect me, not once, because I'm more than qualified to be here, more than qualified. And I think some people, they start doubting that for themselves. They're like, oh, well, but why me? Oh, they're not going to really listen. Oh, you know, I don't have enough to give to the team. Stop getting all the, I pour a lot of positive affirmations. I speak things into existence a lot. Like, I can do this. You got this. All right. Hashtag slay. All right. Get on out there. You know, you can do anything. You got your cape on. Right. So I think we need to speak more of those to what we do and then show up like that. But you have to build. And I think for me, again, I only speak from personal experience. A lot of that comes from my gym time.
We have another one. How do you deal with different leadership styles? As I am sure it is quite different dealing with the military versus the private sector.
Yes. So I have learned to be a chameleon, and I adjust. I don't make the environment adjust to me. I adjust to the environment that I'm put in. Everyone has their own style of leadership. And I appreciate that because I learned so much from so many other people. I silently write down things in notebooks when I engage in conversation or I'm at a forum or a meeting and somebody says something. I'm like, ooh, I just took that. Okay, let me just write this down. And then I apply that. I try to execute it in, you know, some other meeting or some other forum that I'm in. But I think it's important that everyone has different leadership styles, so that way you can maneuver through different spaces when you do that. When you are just like a one, you know, style approach to everything, you might not be able to reach either people or reach succeeding at the goal that you have at hand. That's why I do a lot of reading on leadership. because you will see varying differences of leadership if you continue to climb the leadership, what do you call it? You know what I'm talking about, leadership chain. And it's different in the civilian sector on what that's called.
Okay, next up, this is from Josh. I'm going to tell everyone it's Josh's question. Do you have one standout moment from your career that you are most proud of and look back on fondly?
Oh, yes. So, and it's more of a personal, it's not really professional. So me and my husband, we tried to have a baby on our own. It wasn't working out for us. We both got married in our 30s. We thought it was going to happen right away. And when it didn't, we ended up seeing a specialist and having an intro vitro fertilization procedure done. And when that did not work, then I was like, okay, we're just going to have to go. It's just me and you, babe. It's just me and you. All right. So we're going to take on our careers. So we're going to just, focus on that. And then when I found out we got pregnant, and we got pregnant naturally, and then we had our son. My son is I'm most proud of him. He has been so resilient through this journey that we've had. He's 10 years old. He's a miracle baby. I refer to him as a miracle baby. I think it's important for us who are able to have children to appreciate the gift. All right. Because there's nothing more prouder, and I tear up every time. There's nothing more prouder to see my son talk about their parents and how he's so like proud of us. He's like, oh my gosh, my mom and dad are both cheese, da 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 da. And I just love to see him, in his element and how he's be able to serve just like we're serving. He's in service too. So, I can't help to think that there was a reason, that we were able to have him naturally. I'm just excited. I'm just really excited that my time in the military is coming to an end, and I'll be able to share more time with him.
Okay. Next up, what are some of your favorite books on leadership?
Oh, I have it right here. It's called, and I want to make sure I get it right, The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. It's by John Maxwell. I absolutely love this book. I sent out a lot of messages to the base about one of these attributes of leadership. So they may get it verbatim. And it goes in and talks about character, charisma, discernment, just all the different qualities of some of our great leaders, and compiled in this short read. I like short reads. I don't like anything complex. I'm a very simple-minded person. So it reads well for me. And it's all bent up and stuff because I've carried it for quite some time and I refer to it a lot.
Okay. Next up, what are your plans post-military? Will you be staying in the area?
No, we're moving. We're going to the DMV area. So DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. I was telling the team prior to us getting here that I just got confirmation of my business. It's called #Slay to Success. The business is going to be targeting, members people, and I'll say members because I use members in the military all the time, but people who are seeking leadership opportunities and how mentoring and coaching them through by sharing my experiences in the Air Force. And so we'll be moving. I'm going to, tap into that. I like to work with people. So maybe human resource management. My husband, he has his doctorate's degree in leadership and organizational management. And so he's going to be the one looking for the job in the Pentagon and Quantico. I think those are the places that he says that he wants to look into. And then we'll settle there. It's right in between some of our family members that we have there on the East Coast.
Okay, we have so many questions.
Yes.
What knowledge do you wish you had? What knowledge do you wish you had known, or advice do you wish you had gotten when you were first starting your leadership journey?
Oh, was to not waste time. So when you leave from home, there's the element of I'm free. You know, my parents were very strict when I was growing up. And so I couldn't go out and do a lot of different things that other friends were doing. So when you came in the military, like I don't have to answer to my parents really. And so I was out and about and socializing more than I should have been. I was putting off going to school, and I didn't know, when I was going to do it. When I finally learned and understood my role in the military, and that was not until I was about a staff sergeant going in to be a tech sergeant, which is about 12 years in service. And so I didn't necessarily waste it. I just was on a different path. And I encourage everyone who has an opportunity to, get an education or get a certification, make something of it, make it to where you're marketable when you step out of the military environment, because you never know what will happen in your career, and that you need something to as a foundation when you leave from the military. So I encourage all of my younger airmen, I'm like, stop partying so much. I know, I was a partier too, but let's concentrate on this education here, and making yourself better.
Okay, next up, other than your father, how would you describe, or who has been your biggest mentor?
So Chief Master Sergeant, she's retired now, Emily Hunt Brown. She was stationed, or she was my superintendent when I was stationed at Yokota Air Base in Japan. She was the first person who believed in me. I mean, like truly believed in me. She would put me in meetings. She sent me on the deployment to Vietnam. I got promoted to Master Sergeant as a senior NCO when I was there. She was my biggest cheerleader. She still contacts me at least once a week, asks me how I'm doing. And she just really, she got me. She got me. When you find people who really understand who you are as a person and they're looking out for your best interest, you've got to hold on to that. And so I asked her so many questions. Anytime I wanted to make a big decision, I would go to her. I still kind of do nowadays. Now, I'm almost 50, so, and she's probably like almost, 65 or so, but I still look up to her a lot when I'm trying to make, big decisions. But she's one of the reasons why I stayed in the military for so long, because she told me that, representation matters. It matters. All right. So you've got to stick it out, because other people will see you and they will see that the impossible is possible. So I was able to do that and do it in my own way. And I can look at myself in the mirror and say, yep, I did it.
Our next one is follow up to Josh's question. What was your biggest failure and what did you learn and take from it?
I think my biggest failure was trying to get promoted to one of the ranks by almost literally at every means necessary. I have learned that promotions come in due time, and it's not your season. Not every season is your season. And I was trying to force. I was in every club, every, volunteer opportunity, you name it, I was there. I was working late. I was, staying. I didn't had our son, and I wasn't even married at that point. But I was working these late hours, 8 o'clock, coming home, thinking that that's what it took to get promoted. I was missing out on opportunities with my friends, maybe with my loved ones, because I got work to do. I would get off of work, I would go and put my civilian clothes on, and I would go back to work. And so I learned in that, I was really sacrificing my whole life, and it wasn't the right time for me to get promoted. And so over time, I've learned it will come when it comes. I put in the work, and if I'm consistent and I have discipline with that, it will come. Maybe not when I want it, but in this position, I feel comfortable in this uncomfortable space. I feel comfortable in it because I've done enough to realize that every situation that comes up, I'm able to handle it in a better way.
All great advice. We have one last question. We might have more, but this is the last one so far. My daughter recently graduated from officer candidate school in the Army. What piece of advice would you offer as she begins her military leadership career?
All right. So because I know what she's talking about and alluding to, she needs to be very mindful of who's around her. All right. I knew that some people were just not for me. They were just not. And I didn't want to let them go because I felt like I owed something to them. But I eventually did. Go big, dream big. Dream big. I think we limit ourselves, as sometimes as females in leadership roles, we box ourselves in, all right, and say, okay, well, these are only positions, or these are only, this is the only path I can get to this, right? Again, I learned probably about 10 years ago or so that I create my own path, all right? And I create my own future. And just know that you can do anything that you put your mind to it, regardless if you're a woman. And I tell men this all the time too, regardless if you're a man or a woman, whatever you want to do, you do it. You create a plan, you have a vision to what you think it should look like, or what you want to do, or what you want to be, and you get after it. So don't let anybody tell you anything less than that. So that would be my advice, is to work hard and dream big, and it'll all come to fruition. It really will. Have the right mindset.
Okay, next one. How do you deal with imposter syndrome, and do you ever get it?
Oh yeah. And so we talk about I'm not sure. So I'm at the bomber base, right? So let's just I'm going to be very transparent to y'all. All right. I've never flown a plane. I'm not a pilot. I have never worked on a flight line as a maintainer. I haven't never touched an aircraft and worked on that. Right. And so there is a little bit of, how much credibility do I really have? Am I really speaking to where I can reach? And so what I decided again was I had to let that go, because I can't change that. That was not my path in the Air Force. What I can do is listen and take in what they give to me, and then I can help whatever, to whatever goals that they're trying to reach. So I manage it from a different way. And I think sometimes we doubt ourselves because we're not qualified, right? But that's not what they're looking for. In this position, they don't need me to go out there on the flight line and turn a wrench, all right? They don't need me for that. They need me to give them sound counsel, and they give them sage advice, and to help them to make the right decisions. All right. And I just take in the information I get from the field of all the folks that are out here working. And then I develop a way to express that and give it to the team so that we can. So yeah, there is some of that doubt, but I kind of brush it away at times and go, yeah, you can be there, but I'm not going to entertain you right now.
That is solid advice for a Monday. I think that is all the questions we have. We have a couple minutes left. Rochelle, will you pick a number between 1 and 35? And we are going to give one of our attendees today a copy of your favorite leadership book.
Awesome. It will be 18.
Okay, Shannon's gonna post the winner in the comments. And if your name pops up, please message us your address so that we can get you the book out. We will send, Rochelle, is it okay if we send out some of your contact information
Absolutely.
with the replay? And then that way if
Yes.
people have questions after? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we are so excited to see your new business slay. I'm so excited.
So I looked in the chat here and I just want to respond to one of them. So Tiana O'Toole. So yes, I am writing a book. So I'm almost done. I have probably till May, but you're absolutely right. Someone told me that, so I just started writing. So I will let y'all know when that becomes available for purchase. So I want to thank you all for just listening in, because I know you could have been spending it on anything else but this, and you chose to listen in to me today. So God bless you all, and thank you so much for an opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much, Rochelle. We really appreciate it. And we'll send everyone out the replay link with all of the contact information. And we look forward to seeing everyone virtually again on February 17th, same time, same place. Thank you guys so much.